Are we prepared for a worst case scenario? California may be in the middle of a severe drought, but climate change is doubling the risk of catastrophic flooding. It's what some call a mega flood. Our team of meteorologists went to the top, interviewing states' lead researchers for months, asking what is a mega flood, what damage could it do, and are we ready? Tonight, Monica Woods looks back on the spillway crisis in Oroville 5 years ago and also looks ahead at what the state is doing to prepare for the worst.
All of our tools were tough march on the water.
It looks like a bomb went off there.
Imagine the biggest storm you have ever been through.
He had to chainsaw his way out his front door.
Cold, hard rain has local creeks and rivers running high.
All this came underneath the doors.
What if the rain didn't stop?
A levee breaks, and now your neighborhood is taking on water.
In Sacramento region alone, there's over 514,000 people that are protected by these levees.
Studies suggest that Sacramento is actually one of the top 10 in the nation most at risk for flooding due to rivers.
The most intense atmospheric river storms are likely to become significantly more intense.
And certainly the spillway incident was one of those instances where we did not have time.
Are we prepared? This is Mega Flood.
We're already in a world where the likelihood of a catastrophic flood has doubled at any given year. And that's the kind of thing that keeps people like us up at night.
Brian Johnson is a member of the Central Valley Flood Protection Board. Their mission, updating the state's plan to keep us all safe from catastrophic flooding.
People talk about how we may be overdue for the big one, for an earthquake in Northern California. That's probably true for the big flood as well.
A flood event that would dwarf the record-breaking water year of 2017, when the Oroville Reservoir couldn't hold the amount of water coming in from rain and Sierra snowmelt.
In February of that year, we had a series of storms coming into the lake. We were operating the lake like we normally do to hold back some of the water and then release it gradually into the Feather River when we found the damage in the spillway. Unfortunately, it was damage that was too large to repair and really resulted in a failure of this spillway.
Making it nearly impossible to release enough water from the rapidly rising lake, putting pressure on the country's tallest dam, standing over 70 stories high. The risk of massive flooding growing by the hour for people living in the valley below.
Well, me as a mom, the first thing I thought was get my family out of there. You know, it was very scary at that moment.
One set of parents down the street, the other 20 minutes away. Mariana and David moving quickly.
It was mayhem for a while, man. People were going crazy here.
And a life they worked so hard to build, hanging in the balance.
I mean, friends here, I mean, you know, our house where I was born at. I mean, it's just, like, for example, we built this ourselves here. We put the trailer here, we put the porch here. I mean, things we worked or, you know, tears, blood, and sweat type of deal into it. I mean, imagine all that going down. I mean,
yes,
losing it.
You work so much, you just feel like somebody just took it away from you.
The Rodriguezes remembering the night they and nearly 200,000 others got the call for immediate evacuation. The state responding to reduce the risk of a repeat.
13 million pounds of reinforcing steel was put in place here. And then additionally, at the emergency spillway over to the left here, we placed 750,000 cubic yards of concrete to help protect the hillside.
I'm walking on top of the country's tallest dam, holding back over 3.5 million acre-feet of water. Now, if this whole facility were to fail, it would send all of that water downhill, flooding areas like Oroville, Marysville, and even into Sacramento. The valley is a natural floodplain, sitting thousands of feet lower than our highest peaks. Snowmelt and runoff move downhill, filling reservoirs. When water is released, it keeps moving downstream to rivers, a dangerous place for accumulating water.
The Sacramento River as a whole is called a perched river, which means the flow line, the bottom of the river, in many cases is higher than the land that's on each side of it. So the river is actually higher than the surrounding land.
The only thing holding back this water are what we call levees.
In Sacramento region alone, there's over 514,000 people that are protected by these levees.
One break in the system can cause deadly and massive destruction, like these levee breaks in Yuba County from 1986 and 97.
The communities that would most likely be affected, it would be in the low-lying areas of the valley. They were effectively wetlands, and now they're being protected by levees.
Like Natomas, West Sacramento, the city of Sacramento, Stockton, Lathrop, and Manteca, all home to large, growing community developments. And that's why close to $8.3 billion is being spent on levee improvements through a federal civil works program.
By the funds that have been allocated, we've improved about 140 miles of the 300 miles, with about another 160 miles more to go.
Which will offer protection to about 1.1 million people and over $100 billion worth of assets. Near where the Sacramento and American rivers meet, another big project is underway to move water away from high-risk areas in Sacramento and Yolo counties.
This is the Lower Elkhorn Basin Levee Setback Project. We're setting back the existing Sacramento bypass levee by approximately 1,500 feet and the Yolo bypass levee by approximately 1,500 feet.
This will help alleviate downstream water flows by allowing more water to flow into beneficial areas for agriculture and the environment.
This project is being implemented in close coordination with another project coming shortly, the Sacramento Weir Widening Project.
Together, these will reduce the water surface elevation in the Sacramento River by as much as a foot, adding another layer of protection during big flood events. But these structural changes can only do so much in the face of climate change, with research showing California's risk of a megastorm doubling due to warming.
It will be a challenge for sure, because the infrastructure that was constructed back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, like the dams and levees, and the hydrology information that was available at the time at which those structures were designed is all of this.
Joe says this is a time of renaissance, though, with improving forecasts giving water managers like the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers new flexibility in a program called FIRO.
FIRO, Forecast Informed Reservoir Operations. And it's this idea that if you understand forecasted events better, if you can get better forecasts, then you can make better water management decisions.
Knowing when to keep water in and when to let water out.
We've made significant progress, but that progress isn't happening at a pace and scale that we know is needed. And with climate change, winning slowly is losing.
Winning slowly is losing. Well, while we don't like a drought, it kind of is a double-edged sword, because we do get some construction done.
Right, and it's needed construction. As you were seeing there, $8.3 billion being spent on that. I love what Todd Bernardi said in our interview, and I wasn't able to include it, but he said, it's like getting in a car. You always put on your seatbelt for fear of getting in a car crash. You're hoping you don't need it, but if you do, you're glad that you have the protection. That is like our levees and dams. Spend the money now in drought periods to get protected for the potential of something like a catastrophic mega flood.
And Monica, something that we've been covering here on To The Point are unhoused individuals living in the levees. And it's something that we've seen, it's something that we've been following, which is not only dangerous should something break, but it's also concerning because it causes some risk to the integrity of the infrastructure.
Right, and so that makes it vulnerable. What happens is you kind of burrow into that. Let's say there's big water flows coming through. It continues to press on that and erode parts of the levee. Now, it's not just the homeless or people that are unhoused. It's also beavers and some of the wildlife that are out there. So the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, they do a lot of surveys to make sure that those levees are intact and structurally sound.
All right, Monica, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We also have another piece that's coming up tomorrow, and we'll be looking at how do you evacuate? Like you said, Oroville Dam, when it broke, some 200,000 people had to get out.
Scary stuff, and it is something that Brendan's going to be looking at tomorrow.
Yep. All right, Monica, thank you. Again, our series on mega floods runs all this week right here on To The Point. Make sure you don't miss it. For more about what a flood could do, visit us online at abc10.com/tothepoint.